My statement said $1,190 a month. My husband said $2,380. We were both 66, both past full retirement age, and both had been signing off on those checks for almost 2 years without questioning whether there was a second calculation somewhere in the paperwork. So how did a married couple, both collecting, end up leaving nearly $1,200 a month on the table because neither of us knew to name a single form? Nobody mailed it to us. 2.5 years before I found it, my wife filed for her benefit at 64 on her own work record. Her years in the workforce were fewer, and the time she spent raising our children and later caring for her mother did not show up in her benefit calculation the same way. She got what her own record said she was owed. Social Security calculated what she had earned on her own history and paid her accordingly. No one from the agency mentioned there was a second formula that could have produced a significantly higher number. The default calculation is the individual record. The spousal calculation is not the default. The local office will answer any question you bring them, but they will not bring the question to you, because there is no money in the agency's budget for walking you toward the higher option. My name is Dale Corbin. I am 68 years old. I am not a lawyer, and I am not from the government. I read the forms because I had to, and this one cost my family more than 2 years of under-collection before we caught it. This is how to check. I am not giving legal or financial advice. Today, I want to show you the Social Security spousal benefit and the form that claims it. The form is SSA-2, Application for Wife's or Husband's Insurance Benefits. I will walk you through what it covers, who may qualify, why timing has a permanent effect on the amount, what the rules are if the marriage ended, and finally, the one piece of this that has a real hard window on it, a 6-month window that closes 1 month at a time, and most people find out about it after it is already shut. Stay with me because what I go through before that deadline is exactly why the deadline matters. The form is SSA-2, Application for Wife's or Husband's Insurance Benefits. You can find it at SSA.gov by searching the form number or request it by calling Social Security at 1-800-772-1213. Under Title II of the Social Security Act, a spouse may be entitled to a monthly benefit based on the higher earner's primary insurance amount, which Social Security calls the PIA. The PIA is the full amount the higher earner qualifies to receive at their own full retirement age, the actual number Social Security has on file for that person. If you wait until your own full retirement age to file for the spousal benefit, you may receive up to 50% of your spouse's PIA. That is a concrete number to work from. If your spouse's PIA is $2,000, you may be eligible for up to $1,000 a month under the spousal calculation, provided your own benefit falls below that amount. The current rules and the specific calculation method are documented at SSA.gov under the Retirement Benefits and Spousal Benefits sections. Verify figures there before you count on anything, because thresholds change year to year, and what I describe here is based on 2026 rules. To check whether you may qualify for SSA-2, 3 conditions generally need to line up. You need to be at least 62 years old, you need to have been married for at least 1 year, and the higher earner needs to be collecting their own Social Security retirement or disability benefit at the time you apply. The fastest way to get your comparison numbers before you call is through the My Social Security portal at SSA.gov. Log in or create a free account, and you can see your own estimated monthly benefit at different filing ages. Ask your spouse to log into their account and share the estimated benefit at their full retirement age. 50% of that figure is where your spousal calculation starts. If the spousal amount is meaningfully higher than what your own record would pay, SSA-2 is worth pursuing. When you call 1-800-772-1213, start with this. Tell them you want to check whether you may be eligible for a spousal benefit on your husband's or wife's record. Give both Social Security numbers. Ask the representative to pull the comparison between what your own record pays and what the spousal calculation produces. They can run that comparison on the same call, and it takes less than 10 minutes once you are connected to someone. One limit to understand going in: the spousal benefit only increases your monthly payment if the spousal calculation is higher than what your own record pays. If your own benefit is already at or above 50% of your spouse's PIA, SSA-2 does not change your monthly amount. Run the comparison first, then decide. That was only round one, because the piece that trips up almost everyone who has any work history of their own is a rule called dual entitlement, and the way Social Security handles it is different from what the 50% figure implies. Here is what actually happens. SSA calculates your own retirement benefit first, based entirely on your own work record. Then, SSA calculates 50% of your spouse's PIA. If the spousal figure is larger than your own benefit, SSA does not hand you both payments in full. SSA pays you your own benefit and then adds the difference between the two amounts on top of it. That add-on is called the excess spousal benefit. That's not a typo, by the way. You receive one combined payment. It starts with your own benefit and gets topped up to the spousal level if the spousal calculation is higher. The payment arrives as one monthly amount, but inside Social Security's records, it is your own benefit plus the excess spousal layered on top of it. To put numbers on it, using rough 2026 estimates you should verify at SSA.gov, if your own benefit comes to $900 a month and 50% of your spouse's PIA is $1,200, SSA would add $300 to your $900. Your monthly check would be $1,200 total. If you are wondering how that is structured the way it is, so is everyone else. The mechanics go back decades and are built into the program rules. The practical point is that you need your own estimated benefit and 50% of your spouse's PIA before you can tell whether the spousal calculation adds anything meaningful to your monthly amount. If your own work record has you close to or above the spousal level, filing SSA-2 may produce no change in your check. The comparison call is what tells you which way it goes. Get the numbers before you decide. For a while, sorting out the dual entitlement math seemed like the hard part of this form. That didn't last, because everything that makes the spousal benefit worth claiming depends on something a lot of financial guides gloss over when they quote the 50% figure. But the version you've heard about spousal benefits often stops at 50% without explaining what happens if you file before your full retirement age. That is the part that cannot be undone. Claiming the spousal benefit before your full retirement age permanently reduces the amount. At age 62, the reduction brings the spousal benefit down to approximately 32.5% of your spouse's PIA rather than 50%. The exact reduction depends on how many months before FRA you file. If you file at 64, the reduction is smaller than at 62, but still permanent. If you file at 65, smaller still, but again locked in. And when you eventually reach your full retirement age after filing early, the amount does not step back up to 50%. The reduction stays from the date of your first payment. On a spouse whose PIA is $2,200, the gap between filing at 62 and waiting until full retirement age is roughly $370 a month. Across a 20-year retirement, that compounds to close to $89,000 in total payments. Anyone who locked in the early spousal amount would look back on that filing date and wish they had called SSA first to run the comparison. Before you file anything, ask SSA to give you two numbers on that same call: what the spousal benefit would pay if you filed today, and what it would pay if you waited until your full retirement age. Let them run both figures and write them down. Then decide. To find your exact full retirement age, log into your My Social Security account at SSA.gov and look it up under your personal profile. For people currently approaching retirement, full retirement age falls between 66 and 67. Your specific FRA depends on your birth year, and SSA has it in your file. One honest answer to give you here: if you are dealing with a serious health situation or your household needs the income right now, filing earlier may still be the right call for your circumstances. I cannot make that judgment from here. What I can do is make sure the comparison is in front of you before you commit to a decision that cannot be reversed. If the timing question feels uncertain, a fee-only financial advisor who works with Social Security strategy is worth that conversation. If the forms I have been laying out are helping you see the comparison you have not yet run, go ahead and subscribe. I come back to this table every week with the paperwork they did not send you. While all of this applies to current marriages, there is a version of the same benefit running parallel to it, built for people who are no longer married. And it is even further off the radar than the spousal benefit itself. If you were married for 10 years or more, and that marriage ended in divorce, you may qualify for a divorced spouse benefit on your ex-spouse's record. The form is still SSA-2. The calculation at full retirement age is still up to 50% of the higher earner's PIA. The conditions differ from the married spouse version. You need to be at least 62. You need to currently be unmarried. Your ex-spouse needs to be at least 62. And here's the part that surprises people. If you have been divorced for 2 or more years, you can file independently even if your ex has not yet started collecting their own Social Security. You do not need their permission. You do not need to notify them. Their filing status does not affect your eligibility. Someone I heard from through this channel had been married for 16 years to a man who had spent his career in a well-paying trade. After the divorce, she rebuilt her own work history, but her benefit on her own record came to around $840. 50% of his PIA at full retirement age was closer to $1,400. She had never been shown SSA-2. She had never heard of the divorced spouse benefit. The difference had been sitting in the system for years, waiting for her to ask for it. And no, I'm not making that up. Social Security will not volunteer this option. You have to name the form and ask. One clarification on remarriage. If your ex-spouse has remarried, that does not affect your eligibility. If you have remarried, you generally cannot claim the divorced spouse benefit on the ex's record. Those are the rules as of 2026. Verify the current conditions at SSA.gov and call with both Social Security numbers before your appointment. When you call, tell them you were married for more than 10 years and are now divorced. Tell them you want to check whether you may be eligible for a divorced spouse benefit on your ex-spouse's record. Give both Social Security numbers. That sentence starts the right conversation. Up to this point, every calculation we have covered has been about how much the spousal benefit pays. This section flips to when, and this is the one with the clock. If you are already at or past your full retirement age and you have not yet filed for the spousal benefit, you may qualify for up to 6 months of retroactive payments when you do file. Social Security can reach back up to 6 calendar months before the month of your application and pay you benefits for that period, provided you were eligible and past full retirement age during those months. That's the kind of number that makes accountants cry. 6 months of payments you are already eligible for, already documented in Social Security's system, and sitting uncollected because no one asked whether you wanted them paid retroactively. At a spousal benefit of $1,200 a month, 6 months of retroactive payment comes to $7,200. It is already documented in the system. One sentence added to the phone call when you file, requesting retroactive payment going back 6 months, is all it takes. If that sounds like real money to leave on the table, keep watching. The window is not being held for you. Every month that passes after your full retirement age is a month that falls off the back of that 6-month window. Apply in July, you may receive back payments going to January. Wait until September, and January is gone. Wait a full year beyond your FRA without filing, and you have permanently lost 6 months of payments you were already entitled to. When you call SSA at 1-800-772-1213 to file the spousal benefit, add one specific request to that call. Tell them you want to file for the spousal benefit and you are requesting retroactive payment going back 6 months. Ask them to confirm your retroactive start date. If the representative does not raise it, you raise it. The word retroactive is the one that opens that option. One limit to be clear about. This retroactive option applies at or after your full retirement age only. If you are filing before FRA, retroactive payments do not apply in the same way, and early filing comes with the permanent benefit reduction I covered earlier. Verify the current retroactive rules at SSA.gov and discuss the specifics with SSA before you file, because how a retroactive request interacts with your situation depends on details they can see and I cannot. Let me bring all of it back together. SSA-2, application for wife's or husband's insurance benefits. Up to 50% of the higher earner's primary insurance amount at your full retirement age. Check whether you may qualify by logging into My Social Security at SSA.gov, comparing your own estimated benefit to 50% of your spouse's PIA, and calling 1-800-772-1213 to have SSA run the official comparison. The dual entitlement rule. If you have your own work record, SSA calculates your own benefit first and adds the excess spousal benefit on top if the spousal calculation is higher. You do not receive both in full. Get the comparison numbers before you decide whether filing makes sense. Full retirement age timing. Claiming before FRA permanently reduces the spousal benefit down to approximately 32.5% of your spouse's PIA at age 62, rather than 50%. Ask SSA to show you the amounts at your current age and at your full retirement age before you commit to a filing date. The difference can be significant and it cannot be reversed. Divorce spouse benefit. 10 or more years of marriage, currently unmarried, X at least 62. File independently if divorced 2 or more years, even if the X has not filed. SSA-2 is still the form. Verify the current rules at SSA.gov and call with both Social Security numbers ready. The retroactive window. If you are at or past full retirement age and have not yet filed, request retroactive payment when you call. The look-back is up to 6 months before your application month. Add that request specifically. Every month you wait, the window shifts forward and 1 month drops off the back. The question nobody brought to your door and the one worth sitting with. How many months of retroactive payment have already slipped past the window? None of this is a trick. None of it is guaranteed. You may qualify or you may not, and the specifics depend on your record in ways I cannot see from here. But it costs about 10 minutes per item to check, and leaving it unchecked costs real money every single month. Verify everything I walked you through at SSA.gov and check the current rules before you count on any of it. Numbers and thresholds change year to year, and what I described here is based on 2026 rules. If this helped you, subscribe and tell me in the comments which Social Security question is still keeping you up at night. I read every one of them. And if you know one widow, one divorced woman, one spouse who has been collecting on their own record for years without anyone ever mentioning the spousal calculation to them, send them this one. That one conversation can change what they collect for the rest of their life. I'm Dale Corbin. We'll keep reading the forms. Take care. And if your Social Security check changed after your income changed, there is a form that covers exactly that situation. I did a full video on SSA-44, the form I needed after my Social Security check changed, and it walks through what to file when a life event drops your income and you want to check whether your Medicare premium should come down. That video is on your screen right now. Tap it and keep watching.
Before you go, everything I just walked you through, the form numbers, the offices, the exact words to say on the phone, I wrote all of it down. 3 plain English guides, organized by the form. They are at dalecorbinbenefits.com or scan the code on your screen. I am not a lawyer and I am not from the government. These do not promise you anything. They show you how to check in about 10 minutes before you pay another bill you might not owe.